Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Wednesday, August 3rd. I'm your host, Tom Moore. The Notre Dame game is in 31 days. Yes, 1 month from today. We're almost there. The longest offseason in major North American sports is 1 month away from being over. We're almost there, gang. The game against Michigan in 115 days. It has been a week now since we were at Big Ten Media Days, and while we've talked about a lot of the interviews we did there, there's one that always kind of goes under the radar, but which is always kind of, to me, has some of the most interesting nuggets out of the whole event, and that is the interview with Bill Carollo. Now, he is the Big Ten Director of Officials, and he is a really fun guy to talk to. I always come away with a much better sense for some of the concerns that officials have, rule changes, ideas on rule changes, much more stuff. We did an episode with him that was sort of clips from his interview last year, and it ended up being a really popular one when we did it last year, so we're going to bring that back again before we dive into camp tomorrow. Sort of our last sort of off-season show. We're going to talk to, going to hear from Bill Carollo about some of that stuff. And let's start with the looming ref shortage. You have probably seen the videos of insane youth sports coaches and parents chasing umpires around and out to the parking lot and punching people and just kind of going nuts. And that has led to a shortage of officials in pretty much all sports at the lower levels. And that shortage is starting to creep up the ladder to high schools and beyond. So how is that impacting the Big Ten right now?
I'm comfortable where we're at today because we're in the right place at the right time. Big Ten. Just not bragging, not trying to pat myself or the conference on the back, but we've done a lot of good things in recruiting. But I do a lot of work with high school officials. I do a lot of work with multiple Division III conferences that I oversee, Division II conferences, small Pioneer League, Missouri Valley, MAC. I mean, I have a lot of people, and they're coming from all over trying to get into those conferences. Not as big of a problem, but it's a serious problem in all sports, and it's a serious problem in football because now they don't have enough football officials to work a Friday night game anymore. So they're doing Wednesday nights, Thursday at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. No fans, some fans. It's not ridiculous, but it's very, very difficult. So if I was only at the high school level, it'd be a huge problem. And it's because of fans' attitude and parents' attitude chasing these youth officials off the field. I mean, literally chasing them off and cornering them and assaulting them. And so it's, but I don't have that. And we have, obviously good security at the Big Ten level, but, and everybody wants to be here. So I'm not whining about, I don't have enough people to work it. I'm not using that as an excuse. I got the best guys that I can train and put out there. And if we make a mistake, I own the mistake,
One of the last things I want to do in the world is ever encourage Tony Gerdeman, but one of my favorite ones of his jokes of all time was when a team got called for a disconcerting signals penalty during a game. Someone asked Tony on Twitter if that was his old band's name, if you're familiar with that, his old joke about that. He said, yes, they were the only ones who clapped during their performances, and I'm sorry, there's two kinds of people in the world. There's people who don't get that joke and people who recognize that is really funny. The penalty disconcerting signals does come when defensive players try to mimic the offensive snap count, either by calling out something that sounds like it or clapping to try and get the opposing offensive line to move. That's been a penalty that you've seen maybe called a little bit more recently. Carollo explained why that's an issue and why he doesn't really buy into the idea that the defense is just, we were just trying to call our own signals. We weren't trying to mislead anyone. Here was his answer on that.
Yeah, they usually get away with it. So they've been doing it, disconcerting signals. I'm talking linemen, if it goes on go or hut, they're saying something close to that, and then they say, well, if they can call signals, we can call signals and shift. They call it stemming, going across the line. And they intentionally try to do it. Now, if you go forward toward your opponent, it's going to be on you. But they can go lateral and stay out of the neutral zone and do that. But they can't use, if the quarterback is going on hand signals, and we've been a little bit lenient more than I'd like as an old quarterback, this was enough, a head bob, to get a flag for false start. And that was a T formation, not shotgun, and you're that close and it's short yardage and you give them that because you want the defense to jump and hit your center. Well, most of them are using clapping. So if I clap and you're on defense, you can't clap it ever, even though your shift is the clap in the drop into man or drop into zone, whatever it might be. So, but to catch that, right before the cadence or while he's clapping, someone else is clapping, they're trying to get the center to snap it and screw up the, cadence.
Well, you can't talk to a college football official without talking targeting. It is the rule that everyone loves to hate, and no one really knows what it is. But at the same time, I think everyone also kind of understands why it's needed. So, is Carollo happy with the targeting rule as it's being enforced right now?
Yeah, I we've made a lot of progress in targeting. So I try to give the coaches credit and the players credit because I think they're operating with respect and they aren't trying to blow the guy up. And in the old days, they wanted to be on ESPN, Sports Center, top 10 hits, and they were blowing people up. I mean, crushing people out there. You don't see that big hit on the quarterback, big hit on the punt returner, usually anymore. So, so from that standpoint, they've done a pretty good job getting that corralled, if you will, as far as targeting. But the, I mean, it's a judgment call. You know, I don't know what else to tell you on that. If we go to a stepped approach, and I think it could help, but here's what happens when you go to a stepped approach and you say, remember when we had face masks? What did we have? We had two kinds of face masks. We had a 5-yard and a 15-yard face mask. What were 90% of the calls? 5 yards. They go to the lowest common denominator, right? Because they didn't want to give him an automatic first down. He grabbed it, released it, whatever. I mean, it can be dangerous. So they very seldom did that. So they said, okay, we'll get rid of the 5. And if you grab a face mask, it's 15 yards. And face masks are way down. I mean, it could be an accident, trying to grab the runner, but usually the runner, but linemen go after each other too. And that's it. So if you had a tiered approach for targeting, I can promise you every one of them would have been a 15-yard penalty, and very seldom will you kick the guy out of the game. That's the problem. And that's maybe a little human nature, and maybe I haven't done a good enough job saying when it is, but I'm just saying they know if it's targeting, we want that kid thrown out. That will stop behavior. We're taking away time, and that will change his behavior. That was pushed really hard. That's why we have the review on a second half targeting call. We're going to give him a second chance. If we did, small percentage, if we did make the mistake, an error, then we'll look at it again. Might get back in next week, So I just, we don't like to throw a lot of flags. So we don't want to keep, you looked at me, well, you're out of the game. I mean, we don't want that, and there are different degrees of targeting. And the question we had earlier, he was trying to get position, lower level, down, and I'm trying to make the tackle. At the last second, you're naturally dropping your head a little bit. Now, if it's a runner, just don't hurt yourself going in there. So, like I said, head up, wrap up, and try to get your head to the side.
And finally, we have all seen teams who seem to suffer just really well-timed injuries, very convenient cramps maybe on the field. Just when the offense is really rolling down the field, all of a sudden a guy, maybe 2, in some particularly humorous situations, maybe 3 or 4, all drop to the ground with what seems to, oh boy, it's just a cramp. They'll be back, don't worry, they'll be back on the field one play later, after the team has had a chance to slow down the offense, maybe make some personnel changes, really just break momentum. So what did the officials plan to do about teams faking injuries to get an advantage like that?
We looked at it for the last 3 years, and I was an advocate of doing something to prevent it. So it looks bad, and quite frankly, it's unethical, and it's coached, and it's intentional, and if it's unethical, it should not be in the game. And these are adults telling these kids what to do. So when we first tried to look at it, I said, well, charge them or make them sit out the rest of the something like that. But the more I thought about it, the more I looked at the video, and these players are looking at the sideline and they're saying, go down, or they signal it. I'm all for taking a stronger stance with the committee. We look at it. If it looks like a duck and acts like a duck, it's probably a duck, right? So if it is feigning an injury, I'd like to go back to the conference and take some action with the coach. That's what I would advocate, and it would stop immediately. Yeah, but they make a lot of money. But what if they got suspended a game? And sometimes we give them the option. It's X number of dollars, or do you want to sit out a game? You got to take away something if you want to clean that up, and it's just not fair to the other team when they're ready to go. And now you got an injury, and we will always protect that kid if he's down.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. He is a lot of fun to talk to. Like I said, you wouldn't necessarily think talking to an official, the ins and outs of certain rules, like how interesting could that be? I always come away really just, I feel like I learn a lot from him. Really nice guy. Everyone hates the officials. He's a pretty easy guy to like, pretty easy, fun guy to talk to. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it was a little shorter than some of our episodes, but wanted to kind of sneak this one in before we get into the season. Tomorrow is the start of fall camp. We will have Tony back on tomorrow to sort of preview the Ohio State defense heading into fall camp, some of the big questions coming up there. Lots to talk about there, and lots to talk about at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Really fun team of insiders. Lots of names Alex and Tony and Mark and Kevin and Ross and many more. Really, really fun group of guys. Make sure you check that out, BuckeyeHuddle.com. And make sure you're also supporting all of our podcasts. You check out the Buckeye Weekly podcast. Obviously, you're listening to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning. If you can leave us a 5-star rating and review, that will really help us out in terms of reaching a bigger audience. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. Leave us a comment, even if it's just a nice comment. Go ahead and OH and IO each other back and forth in the comments. That's totally fine. If you have, comments, thoughts on the episode, whatever, leave those comments. That helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And of course, if you have not subscribed to our channel, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We've got lots of fun stuff coming up. The season is, as I said, 1 month away today. We have a lot of really fun and exciting stuff coming up on YouTube. Probably do some live episodes, all that kind of stuff. Best way to make sure you don't miss any of those is by subscribing to our channel. Ring that bell, get notified every time we post a new video. That way you'll never miss a thing. Should be a really, really fun month in the lead up to the season. And oh boy, it should be a fantastic fall in Columbus. I can't wait. I'm guessing you can't either. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.